Do you ever find yourself just feeling burnt out after filming a wedding, or lacking that creative feeling that truly inspires you to film? Or maybe you're just struggling to find that emotional impact with your films that encapsulates your couple's true love story. Well, I hate to break it to you, you're not that special. Get over it. Just kidding. But I do know that you're not the only one who feels the same about this topic. So, in today's video, I'm going to teach you how you can actually improve your storytelling and craft films that couples actually love.
I'm feeling like a brand new me.
Now, weddings are not considered perfect. There's always something that can go wrong with either the timeline or the day. Something just kind of shifts within the winds. It's bound to happen. But there is a time and place for things to kind of turn out, quote unquote, perfect. What I mean by this is when you hire or you're working with a phenomenal team, the day is just kind of perfect in a way. The weather's great. You're working with a great team. You guys can collaborate well together. You might be filming at a beautiful location that's ethereal. You got some perfect weather. Everything just kind of feels crisp about the day. And you just kind of know that your film's going in a good direction. Now, this is important. Wedding films should go beyond simply just documenting the couple's wedding day. These wedding days are an opportunity to create something truly cinematic for the couple, as well as just crafting something that's deeply personal to them. But how do we do that? Overall, there's 3 phases to elevate your craft and deliver unforgettable films. You first got to build a connection with the client. Then comes capturing the wedding day. Lastly, crafting the film. Let's break these phases down. First thing is building a connection. It's the first initial phase where you're kind of getting to meet the client. Really, the most important part of this is really trying to understand them as a client and their story, who they are, what they want with their film, and what their story is. How they want their story to be perceived on film. Now, there's many ways to be involved in consultations with your clients. You can do it over the phone, you can do it over Zoom, or better, in person, face to face. Take them out to coffee, take them out to lunch, pay for their meal. It makes a great impression, and the likeliness of them booking with you is definitely a lot higher. You gotta really get to know the couple when consulting with them. Ask about their quirks, ask about their interest, how they envision their wedding day to be. For me, I love asking, how they met and how the proposal went. That's just kind of a good way to start the conversation. I will say, once you start to get into more weddings, it starts to feel kind of cookie cutter template kind of style. It's hard to kind of think outside of the box. It gets harder to do that kind of stuff. What I recommend is first, like I said, get to know the couple, but then send a questionnaire to them. Send a questionnaire that just asks more questions about their wedding day, what they've got planned, anything special. Is there anything that they really want in their wedding video? That's just a really great way to make it unique. They might put something in there that's different from others. Another thing when consulting with a couple is, if they do book with you, a great way to kind of get to know them better and establish that first connection is offering a couples shoot, kind of like an interview shoot with just them two. It's just a one-on-one, and they can just have a great time telling you about their story. And even better, you can add these interviews to their films. It adds, a personal, kind of like an emotional depth to their films, which can be kind of cool. Really just the one thing to think about when meeting with your clients is get to know them. Ask questions about them. Don't provide too much details about yourself. Don't provide too much details about your business. That should already be on your website when they inquire. Make them feel like they're gold. Make them feel like they're the stars. So that's just something to consider. Moving on to phase 2 is capturing their wedding day. What do you need to do on the wedding day to improve your storytelling and capture your client's films? Step number 1, follow the rhythm. Listen to the vibe of the day. First thing that Haley and I listen to when we first arrive to someone's wedding is their getting ready music. We go in and greet the couple. We're kind of listening to what music they're playing, what the bridesmaids are playing, whatever music it is. And that just kind of gets us understanding who the couple is, what their vibe is. And not only listening to that kind of stuff, but also listening to what's happening outside. Is it windy? Is it kind of a crisp day? Can we hear grass blowing in the wind, trees? What animals can we hear? And then we'll go back and add that to during post-processing. We'll add those sound effects in there. And that just kind of helps create as much of a memory as possible, because they'll be like, oh, it was windy that day. Our goal is to just kind of create as much of a memory for a couple as we can so that they can relive that. So sound design, sound structure, and following the rhythm is very important. Step number 2, add cinematic variety. This is kind of a hot take. I mainly only film in 24 frames per second. Now, why is this? Because we're trying to craft this into a memory. We shoot in 24 frames per second because we kind of want to add that blur to everything. Sometimes it can be fast paced, sometimes we can do slow motion, but having a variety variety between 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second really just highlights that real-time, kind of timeless look to it. So why don't I shoot in 60 frames per second? I found myself kind of getting repetitive with post-processing. I was using slow motion in every single one of my clips. I was panning left and right with my gimbal. I kind of just stopped doing that, because it gets very repetitive. You can kind of see it in some people's films where it's just everything slow motion, it's panning left to right, and it gets boring. Adding a variety of fast-paced clips and slow motion clips, it's a great way to create a memory. So a mix of kind of fast and slow transitions will create dynamic storytelling. And like I said, with treating your clients like gold, step number 3, you got to roll out the red carpet for them. All right. Treat them like they are celebrities. They are the stars during the wedding day. Again, it's not about you. It's about the couple, and just making them feel like they are important, because they are. It's their wedding day. It's a once in a lifetime event. They'll remember you for that. The main goal with this is to just make them feel relaxed. Brides especially could be feeling a lot of stress because they have been planning for possibly years on their wedding day, and they kind of want things to be perfect. But in a sense, not every single wedding is perfect. It's always different. And so you just kind of got to reassure them. That's just the main goal. It's just to make them feel relaxed. And then when they're relaxed, it also makes them feel confident. And that definitely shows in your footage. So number 3, post-processing. This is probably the most important time to really kind of start crafting together their story, putting everything together, the puzzle pieces, and kind of forming everything into one big picture. So I'll kind of give you a kind of like a rundown on, from start to finish on how we craft our films and then deliver them. Step number 1 is finding the perfect soundtrack. I personally use MusicBed. It's not sponsored with this video. I've just loved using it. It's professional. They actually use real artists to create these emotions and these feelings that can really drive a story for your couples. Now, music can definitely take a long time to search or find, because you want these films to be different, but at the same time there's only so much that you've got to work with. So back to the questionnaire. That's a great question to ask, is what's kind of like their music style? What music do they like? What music do they want in their film? What kind of feeling are they looking for? And that's just a great way to kind of start with finding a song for them. So find a song that resonates with the couple, their vibe. Don't be afraid to try something different, as every couple is different. Another thing to look for is music's beats per minute and the keys. Usually when you match up sound effects or sound scores with the music, make sure it's in the same kind of key or beats per minute, because it creates a good flow with their film. If you're using multiple soundtracks, definitely that's where you're going to want to use some similar keys to kind of make it, transition into a good flow. With music, we try to start out with kind of like a slow, kind of sentimental, ethereal song. And then we transition it into kind of like, how the day goes. Into the reception, we find more of like an upbeat type of soundtrack. And something that can definitely something that rises, because that's exactly what happens during the wedding day. It's kind of, slow at first, getting ready. And then we move on to, the reception. Everyone's hyped up. And also, don't shy away from experimenting with other, unexpected soundtracks. Something like more pop related or, alternative. Some of the best filmmakers in the nation, in the country, are definitely, known for this, is using very unique styles of music and styles that really resonate with their couples. The fact that they're able to craft some films with these styles of music, that is definitely what makes them different. Once I find a couple songs, I add them to a playlist, and then I download them, import them into Premiere, and then my light went off. Anyways, so I import them into Premiere, and then I immediately import the speeches footage. Speeches is definitely a narrative tool, and this is great because you're hearing their story from another person's perspective. Whether it's a sibling or, maid of honor or best man, dad, mom, whatever. Whoever it is, they're giving their side of the story and their experience of them. And that's just kind of a great way to get a better understanding of the couple and kind of establish the film. So speeches, they're definitely gold mines when looking for, the authentic emotion. So once you've kind of looked through your speeches, you've found a soundtrack, now it's time to edit. But edit with intention. I'm going to actually pull up a project here that we've been working on for the past week. Okay, so this is kind of a breakdown on how we edit or post-process our couple's films. So the first thing we do is obviously we find a soundtrack, add a couple sound effects, and then we break down the dialogue. We break down, the most important parts of what people are saying during the wedding day, whether it's private vows, priest talking, whoever it is. Whatever we thought was important, we'll add into the film. A lot of it's just kind of B-roll. So the first thing we kind of do is we get an establishment shot, then we kind of move on to getting ready, first look, and then the first speech. All of these are just kind of speeches. And then once we make that transition with the music here, we move on to the ceremony, the processional, add a couple vows in there. Once it kind of hits like a dip within the second part of the music, that's what I was talking about with kind of like the rising, and then the music kind of dipping a little bit. That's very important to have stuff like this here, because that way we can add a speech right here, and it just sounds very cool. So timing everything kind of perfectly, transitioning everything in a smooth kind of way is, that's able to have everything kind of flow naturally. A lot of people overthink how they should put everything together. Sometimes it can be too much, sometimes it can be too little. I just kind of work off of how the wedding day went. Overall, everything's in chronological order. Now, this film is finished, obviously. We got to add some color to it, add some more sound effects here in the beginning, maybe some more dialogue at the very end. It's just kind of a simple breakdown on how we edit our films. Don't overthink it. Let it flow naturally. Make sure your music's sounding good. Similar if you're using 2 soundtracks. Just something that can transition well. That's just really the main thing that crafts your films is the music. It's what a lot of people don't think about, actually. It's definitely something that can make or break your film. So if you found this video helpful, feel free to give this a like. Feel free to send it to other videographer friends of yours. Every week I go live on YouTube, kind of breaking down the editing process, what we're working on. So feel free to join those as well whenever I go live, and we'd love to see you there. Please subscribe for more videos like this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'd love to answer them. And yeah, we'll see you next time.